to our support call for the Genius Insight. Every week we foster the community, and we ask you to join us if you'd like to get more information about the Genius. This is a free service that we provide to the community each and every week. There's never a charge. You can come. Some people have been coming for years. I know Annette is here, and she has probably been joining us for the better part of 3 to 4 years. So it's always a pleasure and always good to see her here joining us. Okay, so let me turn off the camera for just 1 second so I can get some details entered here. And maybe we can get a voice recording as well. So hang on for 1 second and let me just take care of business here. By the way, when you're accessing client records, if you have a lot of clients in there, you can actually use the search function to find that person. I have a lot of clients, so I'd use that search function. Let's actually see if we can speak with Karen and get her voice recording and find out how she's doing. She usually has a community of people joining her over a cup of tea for our sessions on Mondays. So let's see if she's there. Karen, can you hear me?
Absolutely. How's it going, Ariel?
Good. And who's over there joining us this morning?
Well, they're running late, but I'm expecting Bonnie and Alita Mann here any moment, so I'm getting very excited.
No problem. No problem. All right. Well, tell us what's going on today.
Well, you know, I'm feeling it's probably environmental and some of the different things. There's some emotional stuff that has to do with the roommate, really some stressful stuff, like anger stuff there, so that's not helping. But it probably is environmental, as in mold, mildew, all sorts of things going on. I've been finding, you know, things all over. We got a bunch of leaks, everything else in the place I found, and electrical and stuff. So I think it has to do, and there's no smart meter here, but all of a sudden in the last 2 weeks it's been getting worse. So there's like headaches, general pain, shortness of breath all of a sudden, left ankles, you know, doing their unexplained weight increase. So a lot of that sounds like almost like mold or environmental toxicity. So I'm
it definitely sounds like, yeah, and it sounds like a reaction, an environmental reaction for sure. Well, let's record your voice so that we can get that. And if you just want to say your first name, it's totally up to you. I'll start recording you. I'll count you down in 3, 2, 1. I'm recording.
We're nameless, but we're known as Karen and Lusick, Baron Mackenzie McDonald, A-E-I-O-U, A-E-I-O-U, sometimes Y, A-E-I-O-U, and have perfect, creative, balanced, exciting health.
Oh, that was perfect. Okay.
Oh no, here comes the cough.
All right, well, let me take a peek and then we'll come back and check in. Sound good?
Oh, it sounds exciting. Thank you for all your help. I really appreciate it this evening. Or this dawning.
What's that? What was that?
I said this is a great way to start my dawn, you know? We're dawning here. Thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. Okay. All right, we'll be back with you in a bit. Okay, that's great. Well, you know, she's usually on the, oh, what's happening with this really upsets me when this happens. Okay. That's okay. It's all recorded, so we can just get in here. This is recorded. Oh, it's doing it again. Why is it doing that? It's flipping from the male to the female. And let's see if it happens again. Oh, thank goodness. Okay. I wasn't a fan of Ryan splitting it out gendered to begin with, but whatever. It is what it is. So anyway, you guys, you know, Karen's an amazing healer in her own right, and it's just really such an honor to be able to send her some energy, whereas she's always sending a lot of people energy, and probably a lot of people on here know her. So you could really hear that congestion. That could be definitely what she described. Sounds environmental, like her body sort of had this intense reaction that she had not been experiencing previously. So what we do is we look over all of the reds and the blues. So let me explain this, you guys. When you see reds and blues in system overview, what it means is that out of all of these items, there is a prioritization. And it is saying to your energy field, hey, check out the chakras. There's something juicy here for you to look at. Or check out the spiritual protection. There's something juicy for you to look at there. Or check out, emotions. Like I think she said some emotional stuff was up for her. But it does not mean exactly the reverse. So let me explain. It does not mean that just because something is not red or blue, that you should not look at it. So it's only saying out of all of these, the energy, your higher consciousness is saying, these are some things to look at. But I give you full permission, and you should look at categories that you're interested in, that you need to know about, even if they're green or yellow, because they will still have items in there that are important for you to take a look at. So there's a lot of good juicy stuff up here. Karen's a wonderful person for us to really just have a great example today. So let's look at the chakras. Let's scan through all of these quickly, and then we'll go to some custom testing libraries. So welcome everybody. It's so good to have everybody joining us. Jeff from the East Coast is here, and Kirsty's back. Looks like she was having some trouble. And wonderful Candace is here, and Stella, a new user. Welcome, Stella. And the Sharons are in the house. We have two Sharons, a Sharon R and another Sharon R. So you guys, a warm welcome to you. And Pat from New York, I always think NYC from New York. So good to have you, and thanks for the kind words in your email. So good to have you guys all along. Well, look how well balanced her chakras are here. The only one here is the root chakra, and that maybe that has something to do with her not feeling well, because that is all about survival and being on the planet. And then we've got some spiritual protection. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm not a huge interpreter of these. And she doesn't have a lot of stuff that's up here, so she's probably protects herself really well spiritually. She does need some auric protection, and it's good that this came up, because this is Surround and Protect FTHG. If you have my mastery guide, and you can get my mastery guide by going to awakentotalhealth.com, putting in the words mastery guide, and it'll come up for you. FTHG, for the highest good. So what this means is, again, it's about auric protection, sort of increase the energetic protection around you. Some people use the Berkeley Psychic Institute method. They will put roses around themselves. So they put roses all around their periphery and give them grounding cords. And if you look at this from a clairvoyant perspective, then people will notice that when they come into contact with people who are pulling their energy, they'll actually bump up against the rose first. So they'll pull all the energy out of the rose. The rose will disintegrate, and then they form another energetic rose around their auric field as another layer of protection. You have the right and ability to protect your energetic field. You just need to put intention there. That's what's happening with the genius. Even though we don't realize it yet, yes, it's the technology of the genius, but it is you re-establishing and reigniting your intention, even clarifying your intention. Your intention is clarified through the frequencies of the genius. So it is a partnership between you as the fantastic energetic being that you are and the technology. Now, I like to go all the way up to 200, so we do have, releasing dark forces, cutting the cord of any unhealthy relationships, releasing unnecessary attachments. You guys, in spiritual protection, it all really revolves around the same theme. There isn't really too much different going on here. It's all sort of the same. So then we did the first red item, we did the second red item, and we're looking for reds and blues. We've got some sacred geometry. We've got some meridians. Meridians is 12, very, very compressed. Let's go ahead and grab some of those. So We see gallbladder, rage and wrath, small intestine insecurity and sadness, lung grief and intolerance. These are simply energies, emotions that have been associated with the different meridians. So we'll pull that one down. And the spleen meridian, that can be about digestion and maintaining the good fire in the belly. Conception vessel can be about hormones. We like to go up to 200, so let's do the governing vessel, the pericardium, the kidney, the bladder, the triple heater. Anytime you use meridians, they're quite powerful. You can never use too many. What I want you to know is that I want you to draw the boundary line here at 200 and under. The obvious question is, well, Ariel, if you're going to include these, why are they green? Basically, your greens and your blues are simply a numerical algorithm. If this, then this. If they're under, I think it's 100, if under 100, show the color blue. But it becomes a judgment call on behalf of the developer, because if everything that you saw, you guys, under 200 was blue, the general population using the program would freak out, okay? But in my clinical experience, what I find from testing people is that items that are important to toss into your main hold tray are items that are under 200, so write that down, or items that are above 600, so write that down. On your lowest meridian, the one being the most compressed, we covered this in the biofeedback practitioners class, you will probably want to include some of the points from the meridian that is the most compressed, meaning that it has the lowest number. So I'll go ahead and include those. There we go. Awesome. Okay, so now let's go back. And we're back here. Now we see emotions, and she mentioned there was some emotional stuff going on. So we want to gather up all of these emotions. And, you know, we can let the client look over our shoulder and they can acknowledge. It's better when we subtly show them what the emotions are that are coming up, and then we allow them to self-acknowledge. So they might want to say something out loud. They might want to keep it to themselves. I always just say, hey, these are emotions that are up for us at different times. We're emotional beings. I have stuff that's up for me. You might have stuff that's up for you. If it has a particular meaning that you identify with, then the moment you see the emotion and you identify with it, you begin to release it if you choose to. And most people don't intentionally want to hang on to their emotional stuff, so they're willing to release it. The moment you recognize that you have a particular emotion that's out of balance for you, the moment that that is the moment you begin to let go of it. Acknowledgement and awareness, these are some of the first steps to healing. So while it could be really wonderful to have a long therapy session with your therapist and you can talk about it, there's also a lot that can happen just in the moment of recognition. Yes, I am holding on to rage. It begins to start discharging from your system right away. So brain EEG, I don't make too much out of these because I find them a bit confusing. I do describe them in my mastery guide. Low alpha, that could mean, you know, spend a little bit more time in meditation. High gamma, it's really just hard to say. They say that gamma is a frequency that when you meditate for a really long time, you shoot up these high levels of gamma. But then how does that square with the low alpha? So I don't spend too much time analyzing those. Spinal energy is always a good one, in the same way that we have our nerve assessment. This is really great for nervous system stuff and for the health of the body overall. So spinal energy is always a wonderful um, category to test people with, even if they don't have any frank reports of back issues. So L3, T12, T11, it's good to have a spinal chart or to start to review the spinal chart. We learned a lot about this in naturopathic school because we learn basically chiropractic adjustments. So we have the neck up here, this is the cervical spine. Right in here is the thoracic spine, and then down in the lower part here is the lumbar spine. So we've got an L3 lower back, T12 lower back, T7 mid back, L1 lower back, T11. So you see that sort of, collection, let's just say collection of items around that mid back to lower back area. So we start to see a pattern. Oh, there we got the rest of the jigsaw puzzle, T9, T10. We got the whole collection in that mid to lower back. So yogic stretching, even just child's pose, getting on a slant board, all of those things can be really, really helpful. So there is, we want to open up that energy in the spinal area. Then when you're doing a session, you can also look at these vitamins, 676. We want to look at things that are above 600. So all of these are fair game, you guys. So some vitamins, today's stress, amino acids, chemical sensitivities. And she did say that she was concerned about some type of environmental issue. Not every environmental issue that's on here, organophosphates, those are pesticides, herbicides, so they might be spraying in her area, some solvents, some pesticides, lots and lots of pesticides coming up. I don't know if they're spraying something in the area, and we do have a suspicious sprayings category separately. Got some digestive stuff, got some mineral stuff. So this is how you look at the beginning. You're trying to understand the person to the best of your ability. You're trying to get an overall view of what's going on. So we saw some spinal energy blocks and wow, lots of mineral stuff going on here. So this is good to clear this out. Good, 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 and wonderful. Okay, so let's see. She said sinus stuff. She said chemical exposure. She said some chest tightness. So let's go ahead and let's just add all of our libraries. Let's just go ahead and add those. Let's just look at some of the panels here for a moment. So we go back in here. Nope, we want to go down here. Boom, 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 right there. Okay, beautiful. And we just want to do a quick scan. Let's see what we've got coming up here. These are all of my panels. These are all of my particular panels. Interesting, the mitochondrial rejuvenation, we've been working on that. That comes up. So let's see what's in that. Mitochondrial transfer RNA, the ribosomes, the mitochondrial DNA. This is really fun. I love these because we can go really, really take a deep dive right down to the mitochondria. And if we work on the mitochondria, we might then clear everything else that she's dealing with. The nuclear membrane, the peroxisomes, this is for clearing waste. Going down to the bottom here, the secretory vessels, all the things around her mitochondrial, the messenger RNA, the transfer RNA, and the DNA are all asking to be worked on, so which is really interesting. So we've got some heart health solutions. She did say some chest tightness. We've got some menopausal stuff with hormones going on there. So let's do the heart health solutions. I always like solutions because people worry less about solutions. Some taurine, that could be good for the adrenals too. I always like hawthorn berry. That is absolutely my favorite because that works on the emotional body, like plant spirit medicine. L-carnitine, some arginine, some D-ribose, which is good for the mitochondria as well, some mixed vitamin E, natural vitamin E. So some interesting stuff coming up there. This is still really like our pre-screen. So let's look at some of the menopausal stuff, and then we can look at some of the toxicity and see if we can get anything. So our menopausal ladies, this is going to be low testosterone, very typical, some low estrogen. Follicle stimulating hormone is out of balance. That's sort of what we call pathognomonic. It's sort of the describer or the diagnostic test for menopause. So any women who have gone to, in their 50s or in their late 40s, go to the doctor and say, I'm having hot flashes, the first thing that they will run is FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. Got some androgens coming up there, low estrogen, that sort of mirrors what we tested before. Progesterone low, these are sort of cortisol, adrenal imbalance. Estriol need, this is E3. You guys, this is like a perfect profile for what women go through in menopause. They have lower progesterone. You produce progesterone to create a baby, basically. And once, the age has passed where, I guess evolutionarily that people will bear children, then the progesterone goes down. But we can do lots of things to bring up that progesterone. I'm sure meditation brings up the progesterone, living good lifestyle, borage, evening primrose oil, Vitex, which is the chaste tree berry, all of those things help to bring up the cortisol. The progesterone. And then cortisol being out of balance is just so typical. Estriol is E3, the weakest form of estrogen. This is really great. It can help with hot flashes. Thyroid imbalance, just really sort of par for the course. And part of what's creating the whole situation is that as we age, this hypothalamus is becoming dysregulated. So that's going to affect the pituitary and all the other downstream hormones. So for this, sort of if we see root cause, treating the mitochondria, treating the meridians, working at the level of the hypothalamus in the brain, and going from the top down, these are all truly, truly helpful and important things to consider and to do. So this, unfortunately, doesn't really tell us too much about the cold. Let's do a couple more things because she's got some congestion here. We've got a sinus assessment. Let's just see what happens here. And then we can look at some toxicity. So she looks like she's got a virus in her sinus, and in particular in the ethmoid sinus. It may be due to a food allergy or a fungus. It could also be due to a bacteria. Bacteria is a 0. So it looks like the root cause probably is a bacteria. So she's probably got a bacterial sinus infection and affecting the maxillary and the ethmoid sinus. So therefore, neti pot and all those good things she's probably already doing will be helpful. We've also got some sinus solutions. Let's see what that says. Anything? Oh, that intranasal red light is really interesting, you guys. Have you guys seen that? That is a red light that you can use to activate the mitochondria of your whole body. And it's sort of, you wouldn't want to go to maybe a cocktail party with this, but you take that, it goes into your nose and shines the light up your nose. And it can eliminate chronic sinus infections, but also affects the mitochondria of the whole body. So check that out. That intranasal red light is a really interesting tool. It's 284. It's not super high. So then, sorry, I want to go back here to the libraries again. I just wanted to look at, I have this funny one that I created for a friend, Today's Sprays. Today's Sprays assessment. Do you guys know, I think you guys all know what that is. Just for fun, what are they spraying in the sky today? It looks like they're spraying some aluminum. I think you guys know what this is, right? And then down here it says they're spraying some immune suppressants, some titanium, a norovirus. A norovirus, that's interesting. I don't know if Kelly is here, but Kelly also often says that she finds the norovirus in Southern California. Too bad she couldn't join us. And so that's interesting. That it could be something that they're, the funny things they're spraying in the sky, don't take it too seriously. Don't get yourself too upset about it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. So GI tox, this is pyrophyllite clay. We get this from biocidin.com, B-I-O-C-I-D-I-N, biocidin.com. Pyrophyllite clay. It's a clay similar to bentonite clay, but it has more silica in it. It's lighter, it's less constipating. I believe it holds a higher vibrational energy. Molybdenum is usually good for a fungal infection. Cilantro good for heavy metals. Methylcobalamin B12. And then we go down here, chlorella, more probably heavy metal stuff. Selenium, good for the immune system. We saw the immune suppressant. Garlic, good for gut stuff. Manganese, I'm not sure, but another clay coming up here. Probably the other clay being more beneficial, the pyrophyllite clay, which is in the GI detox. Let's just go to T, toxic exposure. So you guys, this is my custom testing libraries, and we see the young living oils. Let's just go for the, see what came up. Well, it didn't really come up as high, but there's that liver detox. Let's just go to the toxic exposures because I'm just curious what ones might come up here. Phthalate, this is from any type of a plastic. We can get exposed to any soft plastics. Diflufenzopyr, that is probably a pesticide. This was taken from a US biotech panel that they actually do, and so they test for these things in the blood. And some mild exposure to benzene. That's everywhere, you guys. They tested everybody. All in the United States in the National Human Adipose Tissue Study. You guys can Google that, NHATS. Google the NHATS study and look at that yourself. In the NHATS study, they found that every single person, it didn't matter if they lived in a small town or a big city, they found benzene and styrene in every person's blood across the entire United States. It was interesting that we finally got a positive environmental study. I mean, not positive in terms of the news, but the government was actually spending money in a positive way to be able to study that stuff. And they found that on average, human beings in the United States had over 200 different types of industrial chemicals in their blood, every single person. So if you ever wonder if you're toxic, you are. But how many of those toxins are affecting you on a daily basis? We don't know. The human spirit is amazing. That's why biofeedback is incredible. It introduces us to the power of miracles. But it lets us know too that we are, you know, under circumstances that are difficult. So there's another one. This is sort of a secret panel that I have. And if anybody gets panels in the next week or so, or the next time you order panels, request this from me and I'll send it to you. This is, I have it in a lot of different machinations in my other panels, you guys, but this is one going way back to the beginning. I had this one called the Basics Phase 1 Treatment, and it was just a little overview at what the major issues were. And gosh, this is surprising, but it looks like maybe just even from stuff you're being hit with overhead, you're getting some GMO exposure. Pancreatic enzyme deficiency, very, very common. Some candida, that goes with the molybdenum. Gluten intolerant, that doesn't matter. So I thought we might get some more information from that. So now we have 123 items. I also want to add in some flower essences because she did say she had some emotional stuff going on. So let's add in some flower essences. So I think this is emotional and environmental exposure that we're dealing with here. I don't know why these are so, I think this would be so much better if they were in alphabetical order. You could just find them so much easier. But that's just me. Okay, so chicory, sweet chestnut, rescue remedy. Rescue remedy really resonates for helping with the sinus stuff because it sounds like a lot of emotional stuff came on quickly. I don't know if that's true or not. Okay, centaury, holly, scleranthus. So we'll get them all in there. You guys, this is the pre-screen. If you're new to the program, this first part of the program is the pre-screen. We don't get into the tighter algorithms until we go into our progressive insights. We want as many juicy things. We want to explore all aspects of what we need to explore. And then when we get a whole bunch of juicy, amazing, fantastic, relevant, good pieces of information, then we proceed with the magical button at the bottom right here. We go into progressive insights. This is the tight testing algorithm where our aha moments come from, and we want to have our first aha moment. Before we do that, let's go ahead and look at the aura. Oh, you can see the anticipation there. playing with your anticipation for the moment of getting to see that. Let's go ahead and test the aura now. And let's see, we've got her picture in there, so it's testing the aura. It would test the aura without the picture, but we do have her picture in there. And so it's going to give us a first read on the aura, then let's see what happens after this. So, wow, talk about anticipation. So she is an amazing healer. She's already got those purples moving in there. And we do see some dark energy over here, but it's not dark energy, it's just darker color. It's just, so don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Just saying that this is very, very typical. And she has a cold, so it makes sense. She has like a sort of an infection. The darker energy is what we're going to see before we initiate our balancing. We really haven't done any balancing or harmonizing yet. So let's take a picture of that, and then let's go back, and now we go to that magical moment. We go to Progressive Insights, and sorry, we don't want to do the quick balance. We want to go in here, and we want to do our sort of sifting through everything. And what comes up is, the thing is that your highest balancing, whatever you choose that's at the top, will have the greatest impact. So if we only balance T thoracic 11, it would have significantly more impact than going to the lowest one and balancing large. That's just not a priority right now. So, but if we go up here, rescue remedy, remember I said I thought that rescue remedy would be good for the cold because she had sort of this emotional precursor before not the cold, but the sinus infection. So these are very important. In the EPA, this is eicosapentaenoic acid. You don't have to get that from fish, you guys. You can get that from a microalgae. High gamma, interesting. The chlorine, don't know where that's coming from. That could also be low stomach acid. Auric protection, so she really needs to surround herself with more protection. Now, this is interesting because we saw this in several different ways. So we saw pesticides in her local area, and this could have been what triggered the whole thing. We saw it in several different forms. We saw pesticide exposure, herbicide exposure. Sulfate, well, the sulfur would really help her to detoxify whatever she's been exposed to. So MSM, glutathione, dark forces, releasing that, the low estrogen. So this hormonal change that women go through, you know, there's definitely some challenges to it, and so it's going to exacerbate whatever else is going on. There's T11 and T12, so that lower thoracic, whatever's going on in that lower thoracic, so stretching that area, releasing the compression in that area through a slant board will be really, really helpful. Kidney, aluminum, gentian. So gentian is our first sort of significant flower essence. So that's one we'd want to look at for sure. So then you look it up and then you read the meaning to the person and you say, does this make sense for you, or does this have a resonance for you? And you can look in my mastery guide for some quick hints about these particular remedies. So gentian is discouragement after a setback. Discouragement after a setback. And so I always say to the person, you know, is there a little tiny sliver of something in there that resonates for you? And if there is, they'll often release a lot of energy just in that recognition. So yeah, so this is how you work with people, and you get their feedback, but you also help them to clear out that stuff. Okay, so we see a lot of stuff coming up here. Let's go ahead and run this for a minute, and then we'll go look at the aura. Okay, you guys. All right, let's go here. All right, so let's go back to Karen and see if she has any feedback on what we've discovered so far. So Karen, we're going to unmute you and see what perspective you have here. Karen, are you there?
Thank you, Ariel. Yes, I am, and so is Bonnie, Nolita, and Jesse. So yeah, we got a room full as well. So
awesome,
yeah. So yeah, no, it's definitely bang on. Like, you know, a lot of the stuff to do with the emotions is in there. Like I said, I had a roommate actually get unbalanced and doing death threats and stuff, so it's been really tense here. So all the stuff to do with the angst and all that, and and that sort of thing's got to be dealt with. And with them not clearing the environment, so there's chemicals all over here, water, mold, everything else. It's like stacked all over the place. So it's really bad when people have got that digenesis, and like I said, they're emotionally unstable. So we're dealing with that. The bladder and stuff was all in there too, even to the menses, like the L3, because I've had also, because of this, almost like a mild vag prolapse and stuff like that. So the L3 was bang on with that. And the chemicals for sure down here, they're herbicides. Of course, we're getting those, as you call, daily sprays or geoengineering over a place, and Wi-Fi and stuff. So I was finding it was like absolutely right on with that. The other thing too, like I said, just even the environmental stuff and the stress and the cortisol. So I can see how basically everything's been triggered. Into that. So it's like a domino effect. But yeah, absolutely, it's about surrounding and protecting, and that's why I'm doing things too, like, calling in the local authorities and inspectors and stuff to assist with this, to get this cleaned out, because it's so toxic when you're dealing not only with toxic people, and when they've been diagnosed themselves even with cancer of the prostate, when they do things like that, it affects their minds. So as a caregiver, when I'm also in here, then we start getting the backlash. So there comes a fine point where this is it. But this is when it starts taking the toll on our health, right? And that's, what people have to do is actually get very progressive here. So the genius was absolutely genius, seriously. And I can't thank you and everyone out there for all your assistance. It's amazing. But the breathing, the ears, everything, head stuff, ankle, everything that was even like 3 years ago is starting to re-trigger. So it's very amazing how it's picked it up, especially on that spiritual protection and everything. And it's funny because I ran the Genius yesterday, and it's a little bit better, but you can really see how it's affecting the auric field. The chemicals, the molds, whatever we're sitting with. I brought in a ozone generator and stuff and the oils, but obviously not enough. I mean, it's not doing it. We have to clear all the, whatever the cause is. Whether it's him and all the, offending stuff. What a difference. Whoa. Lovely.
Yeah, no, it's already starting to move out. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you could really see that in your auric field. You're so right on. Yeah, and you and I are going to be doing a Facebook Live at Wednesday at, I think it's 6 o'clock Pacific, so that'll be 8 o'clock Central. And
Right.
Karen will be on with me on the Genius Insight, our group. So make sure you're in the Genius Insight group. If you don't have that link, send me a message, Ariel at awakentotalhealth.com. Do you think you'll be feeling, probably by that time, you'll probably be feeling a lot better. Do you think you'll be feeling up to it by Wednesday?
Oh, I'm always going to do it. I mean, I was dealing with my foot in a, split. But no, absolutely, I'm going to be there. Nothing will prevent me from doing that with you. I mean,
okay, and we'll post
the chance to play.
Oh, good. So we'll give out the link to that soon, and if not, as long as they're in the group, they'll be able to join us when we go live at 6 o'clock Pacific, 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern on Wednesday, and we'll be doing cases. So if anybody wants to bring their case to that, we'll be going through cases and talking more about what the Genius does and all of that good stuff. So, Karen, any final thoughts?
Just, gratitude and thanks. I really appreciate it. Just, that's making a difference. From my end, I'm also empathic, so I can actually feel it here. So I've been feeling things starting to move, physically, around the feet, the legs, a little bit in the chest and stuff. So it's actually doing excellent.
Good.
We're
so
doing
glad.
Excellent. So I can feel the difference. Yeah.
I'm so glad. It's an honor to get to work on you when you give so much energy out to other people. So thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, and thanks to the wonderful group that's there joining us too. I'm sending everybody there lots of love. Okay, I'm going to mute you guys now. But that's really fantastic, you guys. What a way to have fun. I mean, invite your friends over at 9 o'clock on Monday mornings and instead of starting the week and feeling blue, have a little get-together like Karen has there. And that's really like an energetic balancing party. So I love it. I want to welcome Juan. Juan is here joining us from Tucson, Arizona, and I really want to thank him so much for being here because he's a new user of the program, and it's a great pleasure to have you, as it is Linda K, I mentioned at the top of the hour, and Marianne P, also joining us. So many new users, and gosh, it is really an honor to have you guys joining us. Sharon R, I think you're checking us out, considering the genius from South Africa, and Stella. Stella's a new user, and Stella was referred by Elfie, I believe, and I just really want to thank both of you for being here, and I want to thank you for using the program. If you have any issues, remember to email me. I'm always happy to get your emails. Ariel at awakentotalhealth.com. Now I want to just mention to Karen that Water Violet came up, so just go ahead and look that one up and see if that holds any resonance, and then we're going to do one more check here of the auric field. So what I do to come back in to check the auric field, it's a little tricky, you guys. I'll play the frequency for just a moment, and then it will give me the begin analysis bar there. So I'll begin the analysis again, and then I keep checking, and then I take a screenshot of it. This is something that you can show your client as you're working on them. Now, we've gone into a deeper level of balancing. So we don't see a lot of reds and blues and purples, but what is actually happening here is she's absorbed a lot of the good energy, and she's actually going to go now into a deeper level of clearing. So we're going to see this over time. This is a sort of something to be aware of when you're doing little increments here. You can go sort of through peeling the layers. So she took some energy in, and then she went back for the deep dive. So here we are in the beginning. Here we are, she's pulling in energy, and then she's going back in and she's going through the gunk. We're going to see stuff start to clear up again, and that may become all green and then all purple, very, very likely, as she begins to clear up. Let's at least get the start of one more, and I know that Jane is anxious for us to look at her nephew, who's given permission for us to look at his information. So we'll get to that in a moment. You guys, if you have any other questions, this is a good time to ask your questions. And Juan, again, good to have you joining us. Juan, if you have any questions, you can may not know what they are. You can ask them now. You can always ask them by email as well. So in 2018, we're going to have a lot of new programs coming up in different areas of health. If there's a particular health area, be it Lyme, autism, thyroid, if there's anything else that you personally are interested in, then go ahead and send me an email at Ariel at awakentotalhealth.com, and I will look over that information and see if that makes a good topic. So if there's something you're really interested in, often other people are interested in it too. So let's see if we can get the information we need here. Okay. So Linda says, I'm having a problem downloading the libraries. Linda, no problem. Just go ahead and send me an email. And if I need to, I will Skype with you, and I will answer all of your questions. That is not a problem at all. Okay. Now, all right. So her nephew is having some issues. We're not going to mention his last name. We're not going to mention his age. But let me turn off the camera so I can get his information entered here. And let me just talk a little bit. So this young man has given his permission to be worked on. So let me just say something about that. If you're going to work on a child, a spouse, whoever it is, you guys, it is important to get their verbal permission from them that they are willing to be worked on, because the truth is you could work on anyone. However, what's really important is, since you have this new amazing power, is it is ethical to ask them, do you want to be worked on? Number one. That's just you have to ask that question. Are you willing to allow me to peer into your energetic field? If they are willing for that to happen and they say yes, Then as a healer, just as a matter of practicality, you may want to next say, do you want to, do you have a desire to heal? Now that may sound very, very basic, but it may be the first time that they've actually imagined that they have a choice in the matter. So you want to say to them, do you have a desire to heal? And I often say, do you have a strong desire to heal? The reason for that is, and here's his scan here, the reason is I don't need to spend my time chasing someone who's not ready to heal. It's really up to the person. We're the catalyst and the assistant. We're the midwife in the process. But if they're not interested in healing, then why should we waste our precious time? But the moment that someone steps up to the plate and says, yes, I'm very motivated, I would do anything to heal, I really, really would appreciate the help so much. And they don't have to say it in exactly those words, but we want someone who is committed to their own healing so that we're not wasting our precious energy. And they don't have to be perfectly ready to heal. We're not asking for them to complete an application. We just want to have their verbal confirmation. In other words, we don't want to be dragging that person by the ear and forcing them into taking the energetic treatment. So we want to make sure that they are on board and in alignment for this. So he's dealing with some emotional and I understand some addiction issues, and we're not revealing any of his personal information other than that. So we do see some emotional stuff and some Bach flower stuff. Addiction is hard. It's not easy to work with. I have created the addiction custom testing libraries. It's interesting, pride and loathing come up because those can be associated with addiction. So that's kind of interesting. Angst, guilt, shame, I mean, all of these sort of make sense. They could make sense for a whole variety of conditions, but this is interesting. Suffering, boredom, hysteria, okay? Go down to the bottom here. Confusion. Love is when they're trying to reconnect with the energy of love, and this could be the energy of self-love. Grief, gratitude. They're trying to connect with the energy of gratitude. Disappointment, desire, envy, frustration, sadness, hostility. So all these sort of really make sense for what's going on, even trying to reconnect with empathy. So let's get those in there. Let's add right in, actually we want to get our Bach flower essences in there. So Bach flower essences, you guys, those who took the practitioner course know that this is one of the most important vehicles to healing. We saw that rescue remedy come up big time for Karen, and that could be an amazing physical healer for her because she's going through both a physical and an emotional crisis. You heard that she had something going on with someone in her home, and home, that's the most sacred space. You saw what how it was affecting her first chakra, right? About survival, shelter, you know, all of those things are sort of being, you know, disrupted at this time. We can see it in the energetic scan. So we get those Bach flower essences. Those are important vehicles, frequencies to healing those emotional wounds. Then we want to add in our testing libraries. I'm just going to add in all of them by going select all, add them. Only takes a second. We go back here, we go back here, we go back down to the libraries. In seconds, we're going to scan through, you know, I have over 500 libraries in here. In just a second, you're going to see this sort of switch up. There it goes. Kidney remedies. Interesting, because kidney is the jing that can get depleted for anyone who has a heavy physical addiction, some substance that they're using. The jing is your bank account that you were given by your parents at birth. The more you get good sleep, the more you eat nourishing food, the more you think positive thoughts. It's like putting money into your bank account. I mean, it could be dollars. I guess today it could be Bitcoin. It could be your, you know, euros, whatever it is. You're putting money in. You put money in the piggy bank. Put money in the piggy bank. When you have a bender, you know, you stay up late, even staying up late working, you do some type of recreational drug, let's say marijuana, not maybe not being part of that equation, but obviously if you're abusing it, this could qualify as well. anytime you're doing something like that, it's like you're eating food that you know isn't good for you. You're not sleeping. You're not getting into bed early. You guys, then you're spending your bank account. So you're spending your bank account in terms of kidney jing. Okay. Let's go right to the heart of the matter, which is the addiction. We'll run a couple of minutes over today. So if you need to go at the top of the hour, that's in 2 minutes. I totally understand. Interesting in the addiction assessment for him is hypothyroidism. So that could be triggering his addiction. Wouldn't that be amazing? Also some dysbiosis, some B vitamin issues, some issues with being able to process B vitamins, a brain impairment. This really helps you to understand the person who has an addiction, what's going on with his neurotransmitters. I like these addiction panels because they allow me to get a much more compassionate look at what's going on with the person. He's got some neurotransmitter imbalances. He probably could really use some, he's got almost all of them out of balance, some amino acid therapy. So I'd really seek out a naturopath or a practitioner who's well versed in overcoming addictions through amino acid treatment. And we have people who have had serious addictions. There's some clinics that actually get insurance money to treat addictions with amino acids, and they've been highly successful. So we do see probably the epinephrine, which is the adrenaline in the body, being out of balance, the acetylcholine, another important brain chemical, the serotonin, the dopamine, all showing potential signs of imbalance. So you know, we wonder sometimes, like, why is this person not able to overcome their addiction? Why is it so difficult? And it could be rooted in maybe a childhood trauma, disrupted their brain chemistry, and it's never been the same since. That's very possible. That's why we have the brain protocol, is to recreate those healthy stages of development that were disrupted by trauma. Phosphatidylserine is to balance out the cortisol. Lemon balm is very calming. Ginkgo biloba, very good for the brain. Tyrosine, good for the thyroid, interestingly enough. So yeah, I think that there's a very specific, maybe not specific, but a very real physical reason that this young man is having a struggle with addictions. So this is something, maybe a neurotransmitter test. We can do that now with a urine test. And the reason I wanted to say this is because sometimes we look at people and we judge them from a morality perspective. And we say, well, why don't you just sober up? Why don't you just get your act together? And literally, when the person, you know, I cannot stop. Imagine if they have a severe imbalance in their brain, like a severe physical imbalance, how much more we as a society would have compassion for them. Because what they're attempting to do with the addiction is they're trying to recalibrate their brain through the substance, which is the addictive substance. And so having more compassion, more understanding for what they're going through will really help us to get them the appropriate amount of help, the help that they need. And then we can say that there are some belief systems here. No one can be trusted. This is personalizing, like very taking it very, you know, whatever somebody says, they're going to take it very hard. I have no confidence. I'm better than everyone. Catastrophizing. So a small thing becomes a very serious issue. All or nothing thinking. I'm not worthy. Should statements. I should have not had a relapse. I'm more worthy than others. So there's often a polarized sense of ego in addictions. They're better than everybody, but they're also the lowest form of scum on the earth. So it's very polarizing. You see this with addiction. Let's go ahead and get the final analysis in here, going through the now notice I don't do anything with anything on the left, you guys. I will talk about that in the future. So I'd look into this nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide deficiency. This has to do with the B3 vitamin, with niacin, which is interesting. If you think about niacin, was one of the things they used in the purification in Scientology. We still use it for purification, but there may be an issue with processing that B3. There might be a need for B3. So we can see a lot of the brain imbalance stuff coming through. I'm pretty convinced that this is a major part of why he's suffering with the addiction, is because of a brain imbalance that may have been tripped off by a past trauma when he was younger. younger person, like between the birth and between the age of 14. And what happens if you don't resolve it is you keep hitting that trigger and you keep reigniting it. This is Hornbeam is tiredness at the thought of doing something. So he may be feeling that the weariness of having to deal with whatever he's dealing with. And then we see Vervain is over enthusiasm, but they can have that sort of almost like a manic type of thing, being really, really super excited about getting better and then sort of retreating into like a despair, oh, I'll never get better. So that's part of the brain imbalance. Then we see Mustard is deep gloom for no reason. That could be the catastrophizing. And Wild Oat is uncertainty over direction in one's life. And that makes a whole lot of sense for him. Okay, well, Jane, listen, you have this recording to present to him. I hope that was helpful on some level. You guys, we're here each and every week. I'll continue to run some frequencies for him. We're here each and every week, so bring your case to the class. We favor the live case analysis. If you can be here for the case analysis so we can get feedback or talk to you, it is helpful. I really appreciate everybody being here and being a part of the program. So let's see, just final thoughts here. Kitty reminds me of prostate issues. What about electrical stimulation for the brain? Why don't you use the left side? Okay, so you shall share with them. Okay, you guys, so come back next week with your cases, with your questions. Send me an email, ariel@awakentotalhealth.com. We have lots of Christmas specials coming up. If you're thinking about something for a friend or a friend is interested in getting the program, look for the emails coming up about the special Christmas specials, and I hope you have a great day, everyone. Take care now. Be well. Bye-bye for now.